He knew it was too late, and he knew it was too dark, but he had to step into the night. 2 days ago, his dog had started barking at something, then ran into the woods. At first, he thought the dog would come back when he called for him, but no luck. He had searched with no rest, only returning to the cabin for some food. And now, he knew he had to go back out, even though the night was cold and darker than ever. He put on his coat, turned on his flashlight, and started walking. It didn't take long until the forest wrapped around him. He stopped for a moment. Silence, listening for clues. He called out into the woods, but there was no answer, only the silence of the night. He walked further. All he had on his mind was his dog. Where could he have gone? And why? He remembered the sound of the barking before the dog had run off. When he thought about it, there had been an odd tone to that barking. The man paused. A chill crawled down his spine. That bark, it hadn't sounded alert. It had sounded desperate, afraid. There was fear in it, a kind of fear he'd never heard in his dog before. Get a hold of yourself. He shook it off and continued into the woods, calling the dog's name. He walked for about an hour, calling out, still with no luck. Once again, he was starting to lose hope. Then, he heard something. A scratching sound, deep in the woods. He froze. It startled him, the first sound all night. Could it be the dog? He called out, louder now, and started moving quickly toward the sound. The scratching grew louder, more intense. He was close. His flashlight cut through the trees. He could see something up ahead. Wait, what is that? Silence. The man froze, breath catching in his throat. All he could see were 2 eyes, reflective, silver. They stared right through him. He tried to say the dog's name, but he couldn't. Only cold breath escaped his lips. Silence. The silver eyes blinked. Then they moved. The shape, it got taller. No, it was standing. Standing up. It shifted, warped into something else. A human form? The creature leaned forward. Its eyes had dark rings around them. He tried to speak. "Are you?" He was interrupted as the creature let out an intense scream. The sound tore through his skull. He collapsed to the ground. The creature darted past him, on 2 feet, and disappeared into the woods. Silence again. He lay there, stunned, heart pounding. His flashlight flickered, then turned back on. He picked it up from the snow. Disoriented, he turned in every direction. Where was he now? Then, more scratching. Close. He ran. Branches snapped, footsteps all around him. He didn't look back, just ran, fast, through the freezing snow. Eventually, the noise faded. He saw his cabin ahead. He didn't stop. He ran inside, slammed the door shut. Silence. He couldn't sleep that night. What had he seen out there? Hours passed. He hadn't lit the fire. The cabin was cold, too cold. His eyes began to close. He jolted upright. He stared at the door. The cabin had never felt this cold. Then, "Hello?" He didn't speak. "Hello?" He answered, voice shaking. Who is that? We found your dog. It's right here. He froze. Silence. It's right here. He stood up, walked slowly toward the door. He touched the handle, hesitated. Hello? We found your dog. He opened the door. He had been driving for hours. The sun had disappeared hours ago. His eyes stung. The yellow lines on the road had become an endless loop, blurring in the beams of his headlights. Empty forest, endless asphalt. A gnawing sense that maybe he had passed the same tree more than once. He needed a place to rest. Eventually, just past midnight, his headlights revealed a weather-worn sign, "Motel in 2 miles." He slowed, gravel crunching beneath the tires as he pulled into the empty parking lot. The building was old, 2 floors, faded paint. Only one window lit at the front office. Every other window dark, some cracked, some boarded. He stepped out. The air was cold and still. He entered the lobby. A middle-aged man in a wrinkled flannel shirt sat behind the counter. He looked up and smiled. "Quiet night. You're lucky. Only 1 or 2 other guests here. Take any room you like." He nodded, signed in, took the key. Room 12. The room smelled faintly of dust and old fabric. The mattress creaked as he sat down. Beige walls, a flickering lamp, a stained curtain barely covering the window. But it was warm and silent. He changed, got under the covers, and turned off the light. The minutes dragged by. His body was exhausted, but his mind wouldn't settle. Outside, a faint sound, far away, almost like shuffling. He held his breath, listened. It faded. Maybe someone in one of the other rooms. He exhaled slowly, pulled the blanket up to his chin. The room was quiet again. Still. His eyes drifted shut. He wasn't sure how long he had slept, but something woke him. A noise. Different this time. Wet. Sharp. A sound like crying. Muffled. Then gone. He sat up, disoriented, rubbed his eyes. Everything was dark. Just the weak glow of the streetlight filtering through the thin curtain. He strained to listen. Silence. Then, the door creaked. He froze. The door was slowly opening. Not wide, just a few inches. Enough to let in a sliver of hallway light. He slowly turned around to see, but there was nothing there, only the door opening. He got out of bed slowly, cautiously. He crossed the room and peeked into the hall. Nothing. But directly across, something written on the wall. A message, scrawled in thick, uneven strokes. The letters were jagged, foreign, some smeared, some spiked. Nothing he recognized. Not English, not anything he could read. He stepped back into his room, grabbed his phone, and took a photo. He sat down on the edge of the bed, opened the image. He wanted to look it up. That's when he noticed. No service. No bars. No Wi-Fi. He set the phone down slowly. Back in bed, but even less able to sleep. Whispers now, not in his head, outside the room. A knock, then another. He waited, heart pounding. Another knock, slower this time, more deliberate. He yelled, "Hey, who is that?" There was no answer. He yelled again, "Hello?" The sounds were gone now. He decided he needed to find the receptionist. He put on his clothes and hesitantly opened the door, looking to each side before stepping out into the hallway and jogging towards the lobby. But the lobby was empty. No one behind the desk, no phone, no computer. Just an old register. A single key hung on the wall. His. He backed away. When he returned to his room, the door was wide open. The light was on, and his bed was messed up. That was it. He packed everything in seconds, bolted to his car, and drove. He didn't stop for miles. A couple of weeks passed. He had almost forgotten about the whole thing, chalked it up to exhaustion, stress, imagination. One evening, he met an old friend at a bar in town. They hadn't seen each other in ages. They had been talking for some time when his friend asked, "How did that trip went? You never said anything about it." He paused, then remembered. He leaned in. "Actually, I have to tell you about this really weird experience I had." He told him everything. The motel, the whispers, the message on the wall. His friend leaned back after hearing the whole story. "Wow, that was crazy. Do you still have that photo you took in the hallway?" He nodded, pulled out his phone, and opened the gallery. They both looked at the image. His friend squinted. "Huh, I don't know what language this is. Do you?" He shook his head. "Let's look it up." He opened a translator app and aimed the camera at the screen. It took a second. Then the translation appeared. Both of them froze. The room suddenly got cold, and all the fear from the motel came crawling back as they saw what the text said. "Look behind you, in the corner of your room." The two friends had never been this frightened. Earlier that day, Jack and Simon had decided to go on a hike. The plan was simple: walk into the woods before dark, find a place to camp, and start a fire. They stopped by the store, picked up snacks and firewood, and caught the bus to the last stop before the forest trail. The bus was old, clanky, with a distinct metallic clatter whenever it rolled over speed bumps. Jack and Simon exchanged glances. Only one other passenger sat at the back, a man in a dark corner, hood pulled low over his face. "Why does this bus have to be so creepy?" "Yeah, this bus could use an upgrade." The bus pulled over at the final stop. Jack and Simon stepped off, grabbing their gear. Jack glanced back. Something felt off. "Why isn't that guy getting off? This was the last stop, right?" "Yeah, this is the last one." They shrugged it off and kept walking. The bus remained parked there, engine running, the man still unmoving. 15 minutes later, they had left the road behind and entered the woods. Trees grew thicker. The sun sank lower. Shadows stretched across the trail. It was getting colder. They walked for nearly an hour. "How about here?" Simon looked around, nodding. Yeah, this is perfect. They set up camp, rolled out sleeping pads, built the fire. The sky darkened. The woods fell silent, save for the warm crackle of flames. Hey, how about a scary story? Sure, try me. I don't scare easy. This one's actually true. It's really creepy. Okay, hit me with it. Time flew. They took turns sharing eerie tales, laughing, spooking each other. The fire crackled lower. Suddenly, Simon stiffened. Did you hear that? What? I think it was a branch snapping. Very funny. Simon, more tense. No, I mean it. It sounded real. Relax. If you heard something, it's probably just the wind. Or a squirrel. Simon exhaled. Yeah, you're right. I guess I got jumpy from all the stories. The fire was nearly out. Only glowing embers remained. They agreed it was time to sleep. Each crawled into his tent, zipped up, and bundled into a sleeping bag. Hours passed. Simon tossed and turned. Cold air pressed against the thin walls of his tent. He couldn't sleep. That sound, the snap, it stayed in his mind. Then, he heard it again. A branch snapping. There it was again. It sounded like footsteps, getting closer. Simon tensed, then relaxed a little. It's just Jack, messing with me. He fumbled for his phone, dialed Jack. No answer. The steps came closer, right outside his tent. Come on. Knock it off, Jack. I'm trying to sleep. The footsteps stopped. Thank you. He laid back, staring at the roof of the tent. Then, a slow, shallow breath from just outside. Simon jumped, looked at his phone. It was Jack calling. He answered quickly.
Jack was annoyed.
What the hell are you doing calling me in the middle of the night?
Simon answered.
How about you walking around my tent and trying to scare me? Not funny, man. What are you talking about? I've been asleep this whole time, until you started calling. A chill raced down Simon's spine. But who's outside then? The footsteps began again, this time moving to the right, toward the zipper of the tent. Wait, I can hear it too. Simon held his breath. The footsteps stopped, directly in front of the zipper. The zipper began to move.